So why would anybody take the path of most resistance? Doesn't make much sense, does it? Welcome to Sutures and Cents, where Tegaderm meets Top Line and soft cost meets Surgiflow. We talk business clinical and we talk clinical to business. And this season of Sutures and Cents, we're doing how I'm building this, how small med device entrepreneurs, founders, CEOs, and leaders are bringing things to healthcare better or that have never been seen before. I like to call them the small med device companies that are disrupting the incumbents, wrecking contracts, and screwing up our friends in supply chain, all in the name of better patient care. Today's guest is a friend of mine, Nicole Simon of Simon Sterilization Solutions. And here's a quick 30-second background on the sterile processing space that she is attempting to disrupt. So sterile processing is something that's done in every hospital and ambulatory surgery center in the country and probably the planet, where they reprocess instruments that have been used, typically in an operating room, but sometimes in other departments, and reprocess them so that they are clean, sterile where required, but safe to use on future patients. It's a tough, dirty, complex business. And if you want to put a market on it, the best I could find was in the US somewhere between 3 billion and 5 billion annually, and somewhere between 10 billion and 15 billion globally. But it's kind of a squishy number because what Nicole is doing is in a very specialized subset of it. But it's growing that market, that sterile processing overall market is growing at a CAGR of a compounded annual growth rate of about 7.9% according to the ChatGPT machine. So which is a pretty big growth machine, right? When it's 7.9%, you're doubling the market approximately every 8 years. I think that's how the math works. So it's a growing market. It's a complex market. Now, we'll talk about what her product does in a second, but what I'm looking at my notes here, if you want to say who are the big incumbents, there really aren't any. What she's doing is something entirely different. So she is bringing something to people they've never seen before, which is a very intriguing approach, and it's why I had her on here. Here's some interesting notes, though. Here's a big tailwind Nicole has behind her. And perhaps you've heard of these organizations. OSHA, the Joint Commission, the DNV, Triple AHC. Let's see who else. Oh, AORN, the Department of Health, Infection Prevention, Joint Commission. I already said them. They are making standards and applying them to sterile processing in a way it's never happened before. The product that comes out of sterile processing today to the operating room or the other departments is better than it's ever been, but it's taking longer because it's getting more scrutiny. Nicole's product helps make sure that anything with a long hole in it, think of a straw, that's a cannulated instrument. And there are instruments in spine, robotics, and all other aspects of orthopedic, spine, general, neuro, robot, all these procedures have instruments with long holes in them. And if you're not looking in them, you don't know if they're clean or not. And now places are realizing they have to look in them. They're actually sticking little snake cameras, snake lights called borescopes. Nicole will talk about them, and inspecting these things. But think about this. If you have clean instruments on a clean side of a sterile processing department and you stick something down through it to make sure it's clean and something comes out, think about that for a second. That is contaminated human tissue. And now what do? Now your whole clean side is theoretically contaminated. You can get injured as an employee, and now you have to go rework all of this. It's a nightmare, and it's occurring every single day in sterile processing departments. Nicole saw it and designed something to try to help. So let's jump to our friend, Nicole Simon of Simon Sterilization Solutions, and her new product, the Barrier Buddy. I'm your big, goofy next door neighbor. and I'm in the window and door industry, whatever, pick one, automobile industry. I know nothing about where you work or what you created, what the problem is, what it solves. And I say to you, hey, Nicole, Steve down the street was telling me you invented something and like you're selling it in hospitals. That's cool. What is it? What'd you do? What problem do you solve? Because I know nothing, right? So I'd say, what do you say to that person when we're grilling burgers together? So hit me with it.
Well, a lot of people don't know what sterile processing is. So, if I'm going to explain my product, the Barrier Buddy system, in a very simple way, then it's a container to contain materials produced or potentially produced during a process that can allow for cross contamination in an area where you shouldn't have cross contamination.
Hmm. Okay. So wait, just what is sterile processing, by the way? Tell me what the sterile processing department is. I mean, I know, but a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
So
So,
what is it? What do they do
yeah,
in sterile processing?
we reprocess medical devices and surgical instruments that are reusable to make them sterile again so that they can be used in surgery.
Okay. Yeah. So you said you created Barrier Buddies a container,
Yeah.
but break it down. What's it contain? Do we just store instruments in it? Like what goes into it?
So, sterile processing is a department that has a lot of different areas, and we have a one-way workflow. So, when we receive instrumentation from a surgery, used
Mm-hmm.
instrumentation, it has to go through a decontamination process. We have a lot of instrumentation that is complex and difficult to clean. Cannulated devices, for example, such as suctions, are some of those devices that are more complex. And so, one problem that I saw when I was traveling as a technician across the board, no matter where I went, was that there was a challenge with inspecting cannulated devices on the clean side of sterile processing because at first sight, you don't know until you've already gotten into that inspection process that the medical device was contaminated. So you're putting yourself at risk as the technician who's inspecting the device, and you're also potentially contaminating your workspace. And so the Barrier Buddy is a device that you insert the distal tip of the cannulated instrument inside, and then you proceed with your modality of inspection. So we use several different methods for inspecting cannulated devices on the clean side. We
Mm-hmm.
use borescopes, which are cameras that we can thread down. We use implements that we can thread down the cannula and see if anything comes out on the other
Mm-hmm.
side. And we use flush inspection. And so any of those modalities could potentially produce material that was not cleared out in the decontamination area. So the Barrier Buddy catches anything that would potentially come out of an instrument that wasn't properly cleaned, and then it can be sent back to decontam everything contained, including whatever modality of inspection you've used. Obviously, if you came across something that was contaminated, you're not going to want to pull that out. So it allows you to then send everything back to
Yeah.
decontam contained.
I didn't even think about that part. So I know a lot about what you're discussing here, right? And
Yeah.
so I'm going to back it up and take a step for somebody who maybe doesn't know. So in surgery, suctions are used. They're basically big straws. They're
Yes.
complex. They have specific handles. They are, and you think, how hard could it be to clean these things? I'm going to tell you, I've watched people, I've filmed them. It's amazingly complex to get them
Mm-hmm.
decontaminated when they come down from the OR or up from the OR, wherever you are, to sterile processing. And then what Nicole is describing is you get it, you you flush, you brush, you do all this stuff, you get it through the mechanical washer, and it comes out on the clean side of sterile processing. And theoretically, it's clean, but like Nicole was describing, they now have to inspect it, and there's multiple ways to do it. I'm fascinated by the fact that now you have to stick a borescope down a lot of these things to take a look
Yeah.
at it, because for those who don't know, some of these cannulas are 3 millimeters, right? I mean, like they are small, They are thin straws, and you got to stick something down it to look in it, or flush something through it from a
Mhm.
syringe. And if something comes out of it, awesome, we caught it. Problem though, because now it doesn't make it back into the
Right.
OR, right? Problem though, your whole clean side of sterile processing department is probably technically contaminated, right?
Yes.
And you bring up something I hadn't thought about, and you have employees there that could be injured by this, right?
Yes.
I automatically go to surgery. I shouldn't. Um, so and I know surgeons who have 12 suctions on their tray. They use one per case, maybe two. And when
Mhm.
it comes to Nicole's team, they have to inspect all 12 as if each one was used. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, and defects still get through because it's really hard to do. And it's that's 12 of 150 instruments you have to do, right?
Mhm.
I wish people just spent one day in sterile processing. I think if they didn't, their brains would like they just blow out of their head the complexity of this. Um, so yeah, so I like your simple fix. I did not think about getting it back to the contained to take back to the decontamined side. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Makes complete sense. So you were traveling, you saw this problem in a bunch of hospitals, which I think gives you a great leg up on a lot of inventors that I've talked to who are only solve a problem they see at their place, and then they think the whole world has the problem. You went around to half the world and saw that everybody had the same
Yeah.
problem, right? So what made you do it? When would you have your aha moment? Tell me, when was this?
Well, um, I was actually at a contract where, and I won't say where,
It's
but
okay.
I was at a contract where it was happening so frequently that it kind of made me angry, because it is a safety issue for the person on the receiving end that's having to inspect everything. And, we're not wearing full PPE to inspect these instruments because they're supposed to be clean and safe to touch with bare hands. And so I think I just got so frustrated because it was basically every tray that had cannulas in it, and I was finding something. And so were my coworkers, but they were so used to it and did not realize, hey, this isn't normal. And
Yeah.
so I kind of started to, my husband's a sterile processing technician as well. So we were on this contract together. And I was telling him, there's got to be a solution to this problem. And so we started getting creative at work with different things. We like fashioned little prototypes together with, uh, they were the little containers that hold drill bits.
Oh yeah, yeah,
They're
yeah. I
like
know exactly what
plastic
you're talking about.
tubes, right?
Yeah.
So we just fashioned little tiny model prototypes together, and we used that just to as a test. And I said, "Wow, I want to go home and think about this further because I'm a nerd." So I went home, and my husband's an artist too. So I'm like telling him, "Hey, I'm describing it to him. Hey, draw this for me." And so I sat on this idea for a while, and we had gotten to another contract, and I had been doing a lot of networking on LinkedIn. And I decided to reach out to someone, Hank Balch with Beyond Clean, actually.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, and I wanted to tell somebody about my idea that I thought might be able to provide some insight on the direction to go, because I think this is where a lot of people get lost is they have a great idea but they don't know what to do with it, so it just becomes a fleeting thought, and I just didn't want this to become a fleeting thought. So I had to continue to talk about it. So I had a phone call with Hank Balch, and I told him about my idea, the problem that it solves. And he said, I think you might have something here. And I want to introduce you to somebody who I think can help you. He's an engineer. He worked for a medical device company at the time. And his name is Jeff Berger, and he is now my business partner.
Mhm.
But Hank introduced us, and Jeff and I started working together on the Barrier Buddy. So he was able to help me with the filing of the provisional patent paperwork, designing it on the computer. And so together, kind of like where I was weak, he was strong, and vice versa. I have a
Right.
lot of the technical know-how for sterile processing, and he has more of a med device engineering background.
Did did you have did you know how to file a patent? Did you know how to do that?
No.
Yeah, I was gonna say, okay, yeah, I wouldn't either. By the way,
Yeah.
you
So
could teach
it's
me.
like
Yeah,
it's those things that as soon as it seems like there's going to be a lot of resistance in going forward, that's where a lot of people I think give up. We as humans want to take the path of least resistance, but I was so like dead set on solving this problem that I had to continue to go forward. So I kept talking about it. I kept pushing through and asking questions. And so that's what kind of got the momentum going. And then, of course, being put in the company of people who are knowledgeable about the things that I'm not, where we can kind of be a yin yang uh, partnership. And so,
yep.
yeah, so Jeff is actually studying to become a patent agent.
Oh,
So
wow.
yes, so he's studying to become a patent agent. He has an engineering background. So it was like we were the perfect match for business partners.
Yeah, I love it. That's actually really cool. I admire your doggedness because I think like that's oftentimes you're right. How many people have like, man, I know how to solve it. I actually did I kind of
Yes.
made something, but that next step is just it's like a big filter. That's where a lot of things stop,
Yep.
and because it is intimidating or confusing, or it's like a black box. I mean, if you said to me, "Hey, invent something," I could probably. That's not how my brain works, but I could come up with something. But I would have no idea how to get a patent. I'd have no idea how to do that. I'd have no idea. Unfortunately, I have people like Jeff Berger in my life where I could call him and go, "Hey, man, what the heck do I do? Like, I don't know how to do this, right?" Uh, and what's it going to cost?
Yep.
And, you know, I know a lot of people are afraid to call, not Hank, but make that phone call and even explain what you have because a lot of people are convinced, oh, somebody's going to steal my idea, like,
Yeah.
and I know Hank, that's not a concern you would need to have with somebody like
Right.
Hank, but you know what I'm talking about. A lot of people are very, very concerned about that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Did you have any of that? Or tell
Well,
me,
I think that's why I kind of sat on the idea for a while
mm,
before I made a move to connect with someone. Because, first of all, I didn't know who I should connect with. And second of all, like, who could I trust um, to tell this to without them taking my idea? There's always that worry.
yeah,
But I felt like I had done enough. Had enough contact, I think, with Hank to know that I could trust him, and then you just kind of have to take a risk,
right, right.
and say, all right, well, I'm not going to get anywhere if I don't take the risk and just, on faith, that it's going to
Yeah,
progress.
I heard somebody describe it this way, Nicole, and I think it's a great term. I did not come up with it. Frank, you had the friendier with Hank. Like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
the non-disclosure with a friend. You're like, I don't need him to sign a document. I need to know I trust somebody. That they're
Yes.
not and he's you could call him with and have an immediate friendier in place. But
Right.
so yeah, you could steal that. I wish I remember who said it to me, and it's a great term. So okay, so it's cool. Hank hooks you in, you get connect with Jeff, you start doing CAD drawings, you start doing prototyping, you apply for the patent. What's
Yes.
next? What happens next?
Well, so in the meantime, I'm still traveling, taking contracts. So all of this
Right.
work that we've done together has really been virtually. But then we developed the physical prototype, and I have a really great relationship with Sarah Vincent.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
She's the director over at UF Shands, and when they first opened the offsite, I asked if I could come and take a tour of the offsite. And I also asked her, hey, I have this prototype for a product that I'm working on, and I would love if your techs would try it out and then give me some feedback. And so she allowed me to bring it up, and I left the prototypes with the techs and gave them my contact information and just said, keep in touch with me, give me some feedback here. And then we were able to use some of that feedback to revise our design and just improve upon it. Um,
Did it validate? Like, not the technical validation. I
mhm.
mean, like, did it validate? Did their feedback say, "Hey, I like this," or "I might need this or that"? But did they get it? Did they
Yeah.
see value to it? That's, yeah, okay,
Yes,
yeah,
and so, like, that's very validating for me as the
yeah.
person who's, thinking
Oh my
about
gosh, yeah.
this and trying to bring a product to market. Is is there a need? Does the end user see value in it? Because if they
Right.
don't, then, it's kind of like, all right, well, then I need to figure out what's going to bring value to this product and make the user see that value. So, the testing and the beta testing, I guess you would call it,
Yeah.
is very important. That's when you're at your if you receive positive feedback, like that's your turning point then to continue forward. So it was very necessary.
Did so I've been involved with some of these things. I've been there with founders with doing sort of beta testing. One of the things I've noticed, and I'm curious if you dealt with this personally, I've noticed that, and I probably would be too if I invented something. I would probably look at it kind of like my baby. And
Yes.
when customers tell you something that they don't like, I have noticed founders want to argue with them.
Mm,
And like true lean startup approaches say, don't argue with them, ask them why, and just write it down, right?
yes.
But it's hard to put your ego aside. Did you find that that was difficult? Or maybe they loved it for all I know.
Um, so I haven't I've gotten very constructive feedback for the most part. Now, up until right before I brought the product to market. And when I very first started talking about the challenge on my LinkedIn, because I've bootstrapped this whole thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm
Oh,
doing
oh,
all the
we're going to talk
promoting.
about that. We're going to talk about that. We're
Yeah.
getting to that.
So doing all the promoting yourself, and kind of coming up with ways to describe the issue, it definitely ruffled some feathers, and I got some very interesting responses, and I just, as a founder and somebody who is developing a product, you always have to have a very open mind. And if you don't agree with what somebody's saying, um, sometimes you just have to let that go.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not gonna
How
you're not gonna convince everyone, you're not going to please everyone, so some of those things you just kinda have to let lay.
wait a second. Now you're dogged, yet you were able to do that. I'm impressed with your
I have to. Think
wow.
about
Yeah.
this, when you're the face of a company, you also have to take into consideration how you present yourself, and you pick
Hmm.
your battles that way. Is it worth it? Most of the time, no.
I like that. I
Yeah.
actually really like that. I think I admire you for that. That cannot be easy to do. And
Mhm.
that's sort of your grace and professionalism because it's not easy to sit there and have somebody disagree with you. And
Right.
it's awesome to hear when they love it. And when they
Mhm.
disagree, come on, what are you talking about? But I do like that. I really admire that you did that. And I've noticed that about you, and that's good. Um, and I think there's some founders out there that could use that kind. It's nice to hear it from someone who's doing this.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you said you they give you feedback. Do you alter the product much? or just more tweaks? What do you
Yeah,
what's it do?
we actually initially our very first prototype was a solid bottom um, that was connected, so it was all one piece.
Mhm.
And then the lid was the only removable part. So, based on some of the feedback that we received, um, to make it easier to clean, having the bottom piece come off, um, and then also making it white so that anything that might come out would be very visible
Visible.
against that white bottom. So the top and the bottom come off. So it's three pieces. That way it's easy to clean and decontam, easy to take apart, put together. So it's also all the parts are validated for the enzymatic solution in your three sink system and for
Mm,
your washer disinfector.
smart. Let's take a break for a minute and talk to our sponsor, me. This podcast is brought to you by me, Mark Copeland, the Value Analysis Whisperer. Have you ever tried to get a new product, your new innovative medical device, approved in an ambulatory surgery center or hospital and failed? Have you ever thought about the amount of patients who can't get access to your innovative medical device because you can't get it approved? Have you ever thought about the clinician champions of yours who are frustrated because you and your company can't get your new product approved where they work? Of course you have. We all have had that happen. Here's the difference. Are you ready to make a change and do something about it? If so, go to my website, valueanalysisexpert.com, and click on some time with me, Mark Copeland, the Value Analysis Whisperer. You can do this. I will help. Now, back to our podcast. Yeah, that's it. I wouldn't have thought of that. That you would. That's really good feedback. The white
Yeah.
part makes sense. I wouldn't have
Yes.
thought of the bottom coming apart because you got to put it back through.
Yeah.
Uh, huh. Okay, this is tremendous. Okay, so you now make these changes over how long of a period? From the time you decided, yeah, you know what, we do need to. This is good advice. We got to do it. To when? When's the next? When's that new reflected version come out? Or is it even here yet?
I would I think it was probably about 6 to 8 months
Hmm,
from the time that Jeff and I started working together to the time that we revised the original prototype.
okay, that's pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get the new version. Well, I'll call it 2.0. So you have 2.0, right? What do you do? Do you go back and show it to those folks? What's the next step you do with your new version?
So then what I did was I sent out the new version to a couple of different facilities so that I could get feedback from different groups of
Smart.
technicians.
Very
Yeah.
smart. Very
Yep.
smart.
So they liked it very much. And so that ended up being the Barrier Buddy version that we took to market. And we've since received more feedback that we're now using to kind of revise some of the things on it currently.
So that would be that's 2.0s on the market, and you're saying you've got some feedback, so you're revising it to make what I would call like 3.0, just to keep
3.0.
the yeah, we'll call it
Yeah.
3.0. So um okay. So well, it's just I think I hope people are listening to this going like, wow, they're like, you're actually doing this. I'm fascinated by people that could do this, Nicole. I told you I could talk to you all day long about this. So you have 2.0. You said bring it to market, which tends to mean like we're about to commercialize it, right?
Hmm.
Which means we're gonna start selling it or marketing it or both, making it actually. How did you decide how much to produce to then go sell? What'd you do? I see you
Well,
smiling.
we are uh, of the mindset of, very lean. So lean startup. And so we produce as we receive orders because what we didn't want,
Okay.
if, we got great feedback, we got enough great feedback that we wanted to take it to market. But then when you take the product to market, that's just a sample, right? So when you actually take it to market, we didn't want to have a ton of back, stock.
Yep.
sitting there in case, we discovered that the audience that we're making this product for generally like doesn't want it or need it for some
Right.
reason. So we produce them as we receive orders, and that's working really nicely for us right now.
Okay. That's that's cool. So okay, that when you say you're to getting orders, that tells me you have customers, which is, I think, the first anybody that sells the first of something,
Hmm.
um, like it's I just think it's an amazing accomplishment. It's so. What can you tell me about the first client that bought yours? And was it somebody you knew? Was it somebody that came in from somewhere else? You don't have to say names if you don't want to, but tell me the story about that first sale.
The first sale was someone that I knew, who, I've supported them in their endeavors that they are working on in the sterile processing industry, and we're friends. And, he wanted to support us too. So, he went ahead and talked to their purchaser, and we got onboarded, and then they were able to issue us a purchase order. And we got some great feedback also from their facility. But when I got paid for that first order, I mean, that was just so special
Yeah.
because that really was the moment where I was like, I've done it, like
Yeah.
I took this product from idea to market, and I sold it,
Yeah.
and it was
Yeah.
just like that aha hallelujah moment, and like all of my hard work had paid off, right? It was amazing, and I still get that feeling every time we make a sale.
Yeah. Oh, you
So,
should. Like that's what's so cool about this. And it's funny. I think one of the best shows on TV that's ever come out related to this kind of business is Shark Tank. Right? I think people
yeah.
now realize that, like, you had a product, but like they want to invest in companies. And one of the things they always do is say, okay, cool, you have this great thing, you made this great presentation. How many customers do you have? Right. And you can see that go like when
Mhm.
they're like, we don't have any. And like you're a real company partly when people start to buy your product because they see value in it.
Yeah.
Um and that's where you are. And you've bootstrapped this and you've kept it lean. Um so okay, I want to ask you about where we are today and what you're trying to do, and like anything you've learned. So what have you learned that today that you're like, oh, if I could go back in a time machine, I would do this because it would have cut time off, or and a part of it is the learning. You don't want to lose the learning. So I
Right.
recognize that. Like, what have you learned that you go, oh, I didn't know that. I would not have known that if I hadn't gone through this process. Give me an example, or give me something. Give me a good story that way.
Well, I mean, this entire journey for me has been nothing but a learning experience. It's every step of the way I've had to do research or call on, people that I know who are knowledgeable, such as Jeff or Hank, and just leveraging my uh, network has really been very foundational to the success that we've seen. And I can't say that I would really change anything, um, because everything has happened exactly as it's supposed to.
Hmm.
And ultimately, we've succeeded with what we were set out to do thus
Yeah.
far. And that vision that I originally had has evolved so much
Hmm.
into something just completely different. I started the company as a place to put expenses for the project of the barrier buddy. And that idea for the company has really evolved. I couldn't say that there's anything I would change about the journey.
I like that. Yeah, and there's by the way, there's no right answer. There's just your
Yeah.
answer. You know, like so. And I admire how you've decided it's one big learning experience, and if you messed with that, you might not be sitting where you are today.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, there's no time machine that I know of anyway. So it's just kind of a weird question. Um, so okay, so where are you now? Status report today. You have customers. Can you tell me like how many customers do you have?
We are onboarded with 5 healthcare systems. We're about to be onboarded with 2 more, so 7 total.
That's that's
And we've
amazing.
made 4 sales since we took the Barrier Buddy to market in March. We just got our second or our first repeat customer, which is huge.
Yes,
That
congratulations.
okay, they bought one order, but now they've bought
Yeah.
another, which means they like it. They
Yes.
want they want this product. They need this product.
Yeah.
And so we're growing, and things are happening at the pace that they're supposed to happen. It does get a little harder as you move through, as you progress. um we're trying to stay lean and generate enough revenue to where we can kind of reinvest that in the business, and so that we're not using our own funds. But
Are you still working your day jobs?
well, yes, I still need a day job.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
remember we call this isn't how I built this, it's how I'm building this,
Yes,
right? It's a moving
exactly.
picture. Yeah, yeah. Uh so that's first of all, congratulations on the second order. So if I'm the tooth fairy
Hmm.
or the Santa Claus and you get to blow out a birthday candle and say, "Boy, if I had one thing that I need for the next part of my business, is it um investment? Is it hiring somebody to do something? Is it like what would it be that if you woke up tomorrow under your pillow and you're like, "Oh my god, thank God, I was wondering how we were going to get this." What is there something you would point at?
um Money.
Yeah, okay. It's a very honest and
Yeah,
reasonable answer. Yeah.
right. Yeah.
So, are you
um
guys actively looking for investment, or you wouldn't turn it down? I mean, obviously, you're worried about being diluted or anything like that.
right.
What's your approach on that? Yeah,
Well, I think that it's definitely a conversation that we're working towards having, because it is, like I said, getting more difficult because I'm, promoting my business and the product on my own. So I'm using what little knowledge I have of marketing. And, I've had some, once again, really great people that I've met in my network who have helped me, on the website. And Ryan with Blue Rose Marketing, he has been really helpful and um, dedicating his time to, helping us
yeah.
develop out our website has been really just, it's been great.
Well, and he'll be thrilled to hear that because I know Ryan. Ryan helped me with mine. Ryan's been very helpful with my what I would call my social media. I know how to sell. I sort of know how to market, but I wouldn't know how to do it well. And he really has helped me. Now, but enough a commercial for him. He's not sponsoring this, but no, I like that. I love Ryan. So, but one of the things he taught me was sort of, and I noticed it with yours, is using your website to as sort of like it's not to just say, "Hey, we're cool." It's actually to say to land customers and generate revenue. So it has to be something that you can drive people to that they get value out of, not
Yes.
just other things. So I really liked your website. And by the way, what is your website so people can go to it and check it out? Because I actually think it's a great example of what companies' website should be, not just a great place to learn about your product. So what's your website?
Yeah, it's simonsterilizationSolutions.com.
Okay,
And
so
our Mhm.
simonsterilizationSolutions.com. Yeah, we'll have it in
Yes.
the show notes and all that good stuff. Um, okay, so are you have you been able, like, I can order from your website.
You
Um,
can request a quote from the website, and then
mhm,
that request will then be sent to my email because I
right.
handle all of the accounts receiving, accounts payable, all of it. So
All the fun stuff. Yeah,
all the fun stuff. Um, so it'll be sent to my email. I will then generate a quote and work with the customer to, do whatever I need to do on my end to help them get the product
yeah.
approved. Yeah. Um,
Um, okay. I like that. And by the way, I noticed, I remember watching one of your videos on LinkedIn. Now, like, you and I have known
mhm,
each other for a little while, but I think we
yeah.
know each other originally through LinkedIn.
Yeah.
We met through that. I think you do a really nice job of that. I remember watching you use the Barrier Buddy on a video,
Hmm.
and I don't even think you said anything. I think you were just showing what it does and how it works. And I remember thinking, like, that's pretty good marketing, right? Like, you're just showing
Yeah.
everybody what the heck it does and what problem it solves. Did you get much of a response from that video? Do you remember the one I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think so. I think I
Yeah.
did, from what I can recall. Sometimes when I look back, everything's kind of a blur,
Yeah.
but
It's
everything that I've done, I think I've gotten really great response and feedback and exposure with.
yeah. Well, I think I thought it was memorable, and I actually think you're showing people how a startup can not just bootstrap and get a product to market, but actually market it through. I don't like the term social media because people think of weird. They think of TikTok
Yeah,
dances and stuff, right? Like,
right.
I actually don't, and that's Ryan helped me understand this. I actually think you're doing it the right way. You talk about problems, you talk about, and people also recognize you, and people know you. And every once in a while, in there, you put in something about Barrier Buddy, and it drives them to the website, and now they can learn more. And it's this circle, and um, I actually think you're doing the playbook in a way that people should watch who are thinking about doing this, because I actually think you do a really nice job of it, and I think it drives business. And I think the more you do it, the more business you're going to see. And
Yeah.
I suspect you think that, but tell me, like, is that your experience? Would you have known to do this? What made you do social media? And then what platforms do you use to promote Barrier Buddy?
Well, I use LinkedIn primarily, and as a bootstrapper, I just was kind of thinking, I need to get exposure to this. What's the easiest way to do that? And because I had been building my LinkedIn network over the past several years, that was the answer for me. Is That's where I'm putting it because it's the professional network,
Yeah.
and lots of people in healthcare, medical, sterile processing, surgery, um, are all on my network. Those are the people that I need to see this.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense for me to promote it on Facebook or Instagram necessarily. Um, as much as it was to promote it on LinkedIn, and then also building a website so that I can use my LinkedIn posts to drive people to the site. I have on certain Facebook pages, like that are geared towards sterile processing, shared, some things about the Barrier Buddy. But then again, you have to be kind of careful because some of those pages don't allow you to put websites or promotional information. So, which is
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah.
So I'll just use my LinkedIn.
Yeah. Well, I like it. I think it's um, I didn't know this until about 3 years ago. Like, I'd
Mhm.
learned how to do this, and I was probably similar to you. Um, you probably put more thought into it than I did, but I would not have appreciated it. And I've said to people, I was at dinner the other night with two long-term med device executives. I was like, man, because they were talking to me about what I do, and I'm like, I should have been doing this 10 years ago. Like, I wish I had, because I cannot believe how astounding it has been for my business, and it's not that expensive, and it's
Right.
not that hard. And if you commit to it, it pays dividends. And like I love how you said it. You're basically going where your customers are,
Yeah.
right? That's really what it is, where your network is. So, okay, I just think I honestly, and I will say this after the show when you're not on, I think people should follow you to understand how to do it, how a small business can do it effectively, professionally, and frankly, fiscally responsibly. Because
Yeah.
you don't have $40 million of venture capital and angel. It'd be cool if you did. Maybe the tooth fairy will bring it tomorrow. I doubt it though. I would not count on it, Nicole. So okay, so what's next? How do you scale this thing? Um, uh, from where you sit, investment would help. If you got an investment, what are you using it to scale for? What are you going to go do? Hire somebody, make more product, do more marketing, all of it? What are your thoughts?
I would definitely maximize on the marketing.
Mm,
We do have a couple more products that are in development, so maybe using some of those funds to develop out our prototypes, and then when it came to picking the final materials that we were going to use for the actual product that we were going to take to market, that would be probably beneficial as
okay.
well. And then there's, as I've said before, this uh, journey has evolved. And so there's other things, services that we would like to provide. And I know that my industry is saturated with some services, such as consulting. Um, but there's other services that, because the wheels are already turning, I've started developing products. I've really been able to kind of think of other services that are needed that you don't see. And so that gives us a little bit of a competitive edge if we wanted to enter into the market with services.
Hmm.
That might take a little bit of capital to do some of the things that we would like to do. So,
And
yeah.
okay, so 5 years from now, your business is going to look different. But let's tell me, where do you think the barrier buddy is in 5 years? Like what do you visualize when you before you close your eyes at night, hoping the tooth fairy put money under your pillow? What do you think? Where do you think it's going to be?
I think that it's going to be in every SPD in the United States and hopefully other countries too. Um, I hope that as we continue to develop products that and take them to market, that it continues to build credibility in the industry and that we become a trusted go-to for sterile processing products and services. That's, I hope in 5 years that I can focus 100% of my working time towards my company.
Yeah. That'll be your full-time job, right?
Yeah.
It feels like one
Yes.
now. It'll actually be. Well, that's good.
Yes.
I think anybody that listens to you describe how you brought this thing to actual market
Hmm.
would recognize you. You're kind of dogged, and there's like you. I wouldn't necessarily put a lot of money against you on hitting your goals. Just we'll see if it's 5 years, 2 years, or 10 years. But I suspect you're
Yeah.
going to be used in a lot of these places. Um, Okay, so if people want to find or follow you to watch how I think really smart small med device does social media, or they want to just follow now that they know you, they want to follow your journey. How do people find you? I know you said Simon Sterilization Solutions.com.
Yes.
What else? Find you on LinkedIn.
Find me on
Um,
LinkedIn, Nicole Simon,
uh,
and my email as well,
yeah, you
Nicole
can give it if
at
you want.
simonsterilizationsolutions.com. So
Okay, awesome. And will I see you at HSPA in Baltimore in the spring?
you will. I will actually be presenting at the HSPA conference. I'll be doing a workshop and early bird presentation with colleagues. So I'm very
Nice.
excited about that.
Have you done that before? Congratulations, by the way. Have you done that before?
No, this will be
Hmm.
my first time.
You'll be great. If this interview is any and the little that I know you any indication, you'll do quite well.
Well, thank
I
you.
look forward to. I know I'll see you. I'll be at that. I know I'll see you at that. But this has been great. I can't wait to follow your journey. Um, I think what you're doing is, frankly, it's kind of the American dream, right?
Yeah.
You're just currently in the middle of it. It's not like you're doing it, and
Yeah.
that's what this whole podcast is about. So I applaud you, and you let me know how I can help in the future. Um, so it's been great talking to you, Nicole.
You
Nicole
too.
Simon.
Thanks, Co.
Boy, wasn't that a great conversation? Isn't she a nice person? And she's trying to help. And I think what she's done is amazing. Here are the three takeaways I have from my conversation with Nicole Simon of Simon Sterilization Solutions is her doggedness, but open-mindedness. I love how she says the one of the spots where everybody stops is when they go, I don't even know how to do this. Well, she went and figured it out, right? But I like her open-mindedness. When she talks about she had to let things go. If somebody gives her feedback that goes against what she believes, you have to listen to it. You have to give it the respect it deserves. And if you disagree with it, you just have to let it go. You are the face of your company. I really admire her outlook. I love how she was using LinkedIn to build relationships and then later to advertise on it. But when you use social media to create relationships and awareness and knowledge, it is a tool I see woefully underused in small med device that I just don't understand why it's there. It's damn near free and they're begging you to use it. And if you do, the benefits you get are mind blowing. And then finally, I really enjoyed that talking to her about what it felt like to get her first order and then to get paid the first time. And now to get a follow up order. You can tell she's building this as we talk to her. And I loved the spark in her eye if you watched it. Hopefully, you could hear it in her voice if you listened to it. I just loved it. And that was one of the highlights of my conversation with her. So, listen, I love talking to these folks. If you would like to learn more about Nicole, follow her on LinkedIn. If you'd like to learn more about the Barrier Buddy, go to Simon Sterilization Solutions and check it out. They have a cool website designed by my friend, Ryan Pistone, that I think you might like as well. I'm Mark Copeland. This has been Sutures and Sense, how I'm building this with Nicole Simon of Simon Sterilization Solutions. We'll see you next time.